Hi there, this is John from Pino Comics.
This is the other John from Pino Comics.
And we just wanted to warn you before you tune into our quite excellent show that we may or may not use, what type of term would you use for the language, John?
Swearing with flair.
Swearing with flair.
Colorful language.
Colorful language.
Or just plain out, I don't know.
Gutter talk.
Gutter talk, there we go.
You've been warned. Listen in.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, listeners. Pinto Comics here again. John, me, John, you.
Yes, two Johns.
Two Johns.
Only
two
one
minds.
H, though. Only one H.
Only one H.
I've got the H.
I've got the H in the last name.
Yes, you do.
Because I'm a multiple John.
I saw something the other day. I saw you're John.
That sounds bad.
You're John.
I'm a multi-level John.
You are. You're a John on many levels. I actually saw something yesterday. It was on Facebook, so it had to be true. But it was the most popular last names in every state. And in Connecticut, Johnson was, I think, number 2 to Smith. Smith is the most popular last name in just about every state.
Number 2 to Smith.
Yeah.
Smith.
I'll
see
you in hell, Smith.
Anyhow.
Yeah, what are we here to talk about today?
Everything.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Lots of comics because it's Pinto Comics.
Pinto Comics. We're gonna keep in the comics realm today.
Might as well.
Yeah, we might as well. We've done some comics related stuff in the last couple weeks.
Sure.
What did we do about a week and a half ago?
I don't know. When was that?
Well, and by the time this comes out, it'll be probably about a month ago. But
you mean
Brass
now?
No, now then. the grand Spaceball scene.
What happened to then?
This is now. You know I always drink coffee when I'm watching Radar.
That's for you, Justin Purvis.
Yes, Justin Purvis.
Anyhow, so Brass City Comic Con.
Yes.
Was a fun little experience.
I had a good time. I've gone several years, and that was I think the best one that I had been to. And it was also the first time I realized there was an upstairs to it. I've gone to this thing probably about 4 times, and from what I've understood, everybody said there's always been an upstairs, and I've never gone to the upstairs.
And it was my first time. Every year that they've done it, it's been coinciding with other things, so I've never been able to go. I know this year there was some change in who was running it. Yeah.
It was usually in like late July. So this year they did it in late April.
Well, that would help.
Yeah, and it wasn't hot as balls, which
that's good too.
Yeah, it just hot as balls.
Hot as balls.
Walking around a bunch of stinky comic nerds.
Great. Well, that happens.
Unbathed.
Too. Oh, yeah. But there were no unbathed comic nerds there.
No, we had a good time.
At least that I was aware of.
Not that I smelled.
No, it was Brass City Comic Con, the non-smelly.
Brass City Comic Con. We guarantee nobody stinks like cheese and ass.
This is how we promote our friends' Comic Cons. No, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. It was small. It obviously will be growing, but great people there. Some people we knew, some people we didn't.
Yeah, we got to talk to a lot of people. It was held at the Naugatuck Valley Community College.
In Naugatuck.
In Naugatuck, Connecticut, in the I think it was the Arts Center.
So those of you from outside Connecticut or outside the Northeast where there are no names such as Naugatuck.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's Naugatuck. That's how you pronounce it.
You may know Naugatuck from the Peter Paul candy bars, right? Well, Almond Joys used to be made there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, the Almond Joy, what's the other one? Mounds? Yeah, there used to be a factory there where they made those candy bars.
Really?
Which I wouldn't touch because I don't eat coconuts. So.
Not even Zagnuts, huh?
No, not even a Zagnut. Beetlejuice can keep his Zagnut bar.
I just keep touching this thing now.
Yeah, you just keep knocking into shit left and right.
With it.
John's
I'm just fumble fingers today. It's okay. I've been up for 8 hours.
He's been up for 8 hours. He started working at 3:30. He's drinking a Canada Dry ginger ale. He said something before the show that just about made me crap my pants. He said, I'm going to paraphrase. He basically said, I think I'm going to give beer a break for a little bit.
I did. I gave it a day or two.
Give it a day or two for his functions to back to base level before he does something with them.
Until I go right back to it again.
Goes right back to it again, yeah.
There's a nice box over here. Speaking of which, James Carpio, I'm going to send you a picture very soon where your case of spotted cow, nuclear spotted cow, is going to be ransomed.
He still hasn't picked it up.
No.
our first show.
Shame on you.
This is our fourth show, so we're about a month
It's
after
right
our first
there,
show.
in bottles.
Still sitting there. And it was delicious, too.
Yeah, it was.
I might just start taking one at a time.
Right.
And then, maybe calling them and
Then
cracking one open.
You could have one in the can, one in the bottle, and see how the difference is, and see if there is a difference for those of you that are into that kind of thing.
Yeah, the beer versus can taste.
Right.
I've noticed a difference, for sure. I prefer beer in a bottle. I prefer beer in a bottle. I know it seems to be very trendy lately to go back to cans. I noticed a lot of these microbrews are doing stuff in cans.
There's a freshness quotient. I have not been drinking.
No, Canada Dry.
Quotient.
I'm going to have to edit all that.
Quotient.
He said quotient. So we can talk about beer later on.
So there's a freshness quotient.
There's a freshness quotient. We can talk about beer later on, but we were talking about the Brass City Comic Con held at the Naugatuck Valley Community College.
Correct.
And who do we see there? We saw, let's give it a little list of people that we saw. Some people we met, some people we've known before. We saw, I think he helps run it, or he's involved in it somehow, a former guest on our previous show from the hip, Professor Bill Foster.
Professor Bill Foster.
Who is one of Connecticut's premier comic historians.
I would say so.
Yeah, he's written several books. He tours, he travels around, he does lectures. He's also a teacher at that school. Author. He's a super smart guy. We had him on a show a couple years ago. We're planning on having him on this show very soon. He's looking forward to it. Actually, we talked to him about it.
Better be looking forward to it.
He seemed he gave you a big hug. I get the handshake.
I've known him for years.
I get a handshake. John gets molested. I'm used to that. It's okay. It's okay. People don't necessarily look at me and go, "That's someone I want to hug."
It's the Kavorka.
You're going to have to wait for our all Seinfeld episode to learn what the Kavorka is. If you don't know what the Kavorka is, John has it. So anyways, I got to speak at length to Caesar Feliciano, who is an artist for several things, but he does a lot of work for Comics Tribe, which is a small imprint run by a couple gentlemen, a guy named Tyler James, who I've met through Comic Cons. He's the artist on an ongoing, a maxi series that's been going on for a few years now called The Red 10.
Which I would suggest to
strongly recommend.
Yeah.
Go to comicstribe.com and check out their complete library of stuff. I've read a lot of it. It's all good. The Red 10 is a superhero take on 10 Little Indians, basically. Every issue.
Agatha Christie's
10 Little Indians, and every issue their hero finds a fate. And you're basically getting down to one little Indian and finding out what exactly is happening. Caesar is a really good artist. I follow him on Facebook. I follow him on Twitter, and I've actually had him do. He's done a couple on the Twitter. He's actually done a couple of pieces for me for my house. I will put those up on the Facebook page. He did a Bullseye from Marvel Comics. He did a Daredevil for me. He did a Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe a couple years ago at, I think, Hartford Comic Con. And he's a really personable guy and really great artist. We also saw a guy that we keep running into since BingCon last year, Tom Ryan. Tom Ryan from Tom Ryan Studios. That's his Facebook page. Another good artist. He's got some really good stuff. He does a lot of stuff that's kind of movie based. John purchased, when we saw him at BingCon in Springfield, Massachusetts last year, John purchased a, I guess you'd call it a print, and it's a...
Yeah, I guess a print would be a good...
Yeah, it's a print. It's Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and it's just got the words "shitters full." If you know that movie, you know that scene.
I think you would.
Yeah.
Because, it's very iconic.
That's a Christmas classic.
It's an iconic Christmas movie where the shitter's full.
Shitter's full. He's dumping the sewage on the street, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen it in a while. But we saw, so we see Tom Ryan, and then we saw a couple guys that we had not met before. One of them I was really impressed with was Matt Smith. Not Matt Smith, Doctor Who star, and not Matthew Dow Smith, who's another comic artist. This is just Matt Smith, and we talked to him for a while. He sent us a link to one of his works that he did for, I think, Image. We're going to review that on a show pretty soon.
I think it was Image, yeah.
Yeah, just a great artist. He did sketches, unique sketches. He was obviously a Star Wars fan. I bought a little 8x8 Star Wars character sketch, and John picked something up from it. What'd you get?
It was images of the... I think it was MLJ figures of the advanced Dungeons and Dragons figures of the 80s, which had no correlation to anything of the animated series. Some of them were characters for the actual game, but other than that, they were just figures created to be figures. And
once I saw those pictures, I immediately recognized who was the one I recognized. You look like the bad guy of the bunch. Warduke, because I had that figure as a kid. Yeah. Never understood what it was for. If you want to check him out, he is at Matt.illustrations. So I'm sorry, Matt Dash, not Dat. There's no such thing as Dat. There's dots. There's no Dat. Matt Dash. I had a hard time saying it again. I feel like a Matt Dash illustrations.com. Check him out. He was very cool. And then we met another guy.
You can use hyphen,
Hyphen. Yes. Well, I can't say dash. You expect me to say hyphen? Hyphen.
Matt
hyphen illustrations. And then we met another guy, Bill Walco, www.theherobiz.com. I would strongly recommend checking him out. He was he was a very smart guy too. He knew a lot about comics and a lot about G.I. Joe.
Yes.
He had a very Bruce Timm cartoonish style, but his prints were all. I bought a Cobra from G.I. Joe. I bought a Cobra print from him. He had a couple prints.
Who was on it?
I had Zartan. Had Zartan's sister, who we had to play the game of. I couldn't remember her name, and I don't remember now. Zorana.
Yeah.
Zorana, Destro, Cobra Commander, Tomax, and Zaymot. And of course, with anything, if I've never mentioned this on From the Hip before, some of my friends know this. As a child, like my first ever like cartoon, like where I realized that cartoons could be hot too, where I kind of had a thing for was the Baroness. I've always had a thing for the Baroness, and I mean, there's obviously no mystery as to why. She's a gorgeous brunette who wears skin tight leather, and as a 7-year-old kid, I didn't really understand why. I had when I watched the cartoon, I go, oh wow, she's kind of pretty.
Did I ever tell you about the person I saw cosplaying the Baroness?
I think you did
at the now defunct Words and Pictures Museum up in Northampton.
I think you mentioned it to me. Yeah,
was not a female.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, I didn't tell you that?
No.
Oh,
I think you had mentioned to me at one point Rags Morales' wife.
His wife or girlfriend at the time. I think it's his wife now, maybe.
John's history of getting spouses wrong. Yeah. Two creators.
I'm terrible at that. So yeah, she was for a few years. She would dress up as the Baroness because she physically has that appearance.
Yeah,
really tall and brunette.
Yeah, with glasses. Desire to take over the world.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So this Bill Walco guy, he had some pretty cool stuff. One of the things he had that I thought was very cool. He did a Teen Titans print that was the entire roster of every iteration of Teen Titans from the 60s on to today, and it was very cool. He did one with the X-Men too, so check him out. Again, I'll give his email out or his
you use it, no hyphens.
No that it's www.theherobiz.com and biz Bill Walco. Check him out. You should go online, and if you like some of his stuff, pick it up. I bought something there.
Check him out. He's pretty good.
Check him out. So who else did we see there? We saw a couple of vendors.
Joe Staten was there, who we didn't speak to, but he was there as well.
Joe Staten was there. Yes, Joe Staten was there. You're correct. I forgot about that. We did not talk. We talked to him at Terrificon. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
That's where you admitted John has very few, I would say, weaknesses when it comes to knowledge in comic books. And that day I learned that John does not know much about Dick Tracy, which is what Joe Staten currently works on. Yep. He does the Dick Tracy strip, I believe, and he does, I think, some not ongoing, but maybe comic work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing stuff for the Charlton books too. I mean the Charlton Neo books, I should say.
So John, John can talk to anybody about just about anything.
I don't know a thing.
And he starts talking to Joe Staten, and Joe Staten's like, "So yeah," and he's like, "I don't know about Dick Tracy."
I remember reading Dick Tracy in the strips back when I read comic strips, but I know the villains and I know him, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
My father probably would have known a lot more than me.
Who was the creator? Chester Arthur?
Chester A. Gould.
But
that was, I believe, a...
Who's Chester Arthur?
I think that was one of our presidents.
Was it? I'm an idiot. So apparently one of our presidents also created Dick Tracy, if you didn't know that. And if you didn't know this, Jimmy Carter created Batman. In my mind, because I'm an idiot. Chester A. Arthur, 17th president, abolitionist, and creator of the gumshoe Dick Tracy. Well, I was wrong about that. That's okay. Chester A. Gould.
Oh, this is bad.
So we had
never go here for a history lesson.
Don't ask John about Shipworm, but don't ask me about anything. I'm not exactly the guy you want to learn your history from. So we had a good time at the Brass City Comic Con. Nice little show.
Yeah, we did.
We got to see our old friend Dave Bemis, who is who's a dealer who's always at these shows, and he bought some of John's collection last year, and we had a good time. And and then on the way out, we talked a little bit to the Naugatuck Valley Community College librarian.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And she had I thought that was cool. She had a little setup there for the library, basically promoting literacy, which is kind of really important. And she had a lot of product on the table that was either graphic novel or comic related, things that tie into academia. Like
what were those manga series?
She had like manga series that were like, one was like the Manga Guide to Statistics.
Yes.
So it's I guess the way I didn't open it up, but it basically is a course guide on statistics, but it's taught using manga art and manga characters. Manga. You say that enough.
Manga.
Chester A. Arthur also created manga. If you didn't know that.
During his short presidency.
His very short presidency, he had traveled over to Japan and said, I think you people need backwards comic books.
Bully.
We did that, and then about a week later after that was Free Comic Book Day, which you didn't really get to participate in too much.
I don't care.
You don't care? Come on, you like that stuff, don't you?
I do, but I don't know. I'm kind of burned out on it.
Well, I went out for Free Comic Day.
When I don't see the list, this is how bad it was. I totally forgot about it until the week of. And I'm like, oh, it must be Free Comic Book Day. I forgot.
Really?
So that's, I didn't even.
First Saturday in May every year.
I know, I just forgot.
Well, me and two of my friends, my buddy Lou, who's been on the prior show before, and my Big Lou and Big Kingpin there, we went out and we hit 3 comic shops and Newberry Comics, which is not really a comic shop, but we wanted to check stuff out. We started the day at Legends of Superheroes in Middlebury, Connecticut. They have a 2-book only policy, which is fine.
Two free
books. 2 free books, which is fine. Because in all honesty, there wasn't a whole lot that was really drawing me in this year in terms of like, I got to go get this and get this and get this.
Right.
Didn't really care, but I just wanted to go out and have a good time. What they did do, though, and I saw it in the... They were smart. I saw it at the register, was they had tons of stuff for 50% off. Like their whole sales for it.
It's a good day to do that kind of thing, and especially now, from what I hear, many of these comic stores are having a hard time selling the new products.
Yeah. Figures and graphic novels and trades that were all 50% off, and he was selling stuff hand over fist. I picked up a couple of books there, and then we went to, after that, we took a ride out to A Hero's Legacy, which is in Manchester, Connecticut, and this is a small store, and there had to be 100 people plus there. We had to park in a residential.
Well, the physical store has been there for, I would say, about 30 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's basically like
various names.
3-car parking lot.
Yeah, it's tiny,
and there was a ton of people there.
Well, it's on a major road too.
We got in there, I picked up a copy of a IDW Judge Dredd series to do my purchase, because again, as we mentioned on a prior,
I am the law.
I am the law. The law. The law. I am the law. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I know people are gonna hit me with this and the whole Speed 2 thing, but I like the Stallone Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, Rico.
I didn't hate it.
It isn't, Dredd with Carl Urban.
Yeah,
is fantastic.
Much better.
I mean, so much closer to the book. Urban's so good in that role.
Oh, yeah.
But for what it was, a mid-'90s comic book movie.
With Rob Schneider.
With Rob. That's how you can carbon date, like, in a trillion years, when the aliens come down and they're digging through the rubble of Earth and they find a copy of Judge Dredd and they're talking in their language, they're going to go, translate at the bottom, when was this? And one of them will go, oh, that's Rob Schneider. It must have been early to mid-'90s.
What, Judge Dredd, and then...
What else did he do?
Oh, it was,
Deuce Bigalow, but that was much later.
But what was the one in between where he took all the animal DNA?
The Animal.
Was it called?
Yes.
The Animal.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Why? Come on.
Those Happy Madison, those Sandler Happy Madison movies, man. There are some that are funny, and there are some, like, one of the ones I love is, you ever see Grandma's Boy?
No.
Grandma's Boy, it doesn't even have, the star of it is like one of the minor guys that always gets roles, and like one of his friends. But
Horatio Sands?
No. He's not even an SNL guy.
Oh.
But this is a funny movie. But I mean, the Animal, Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo, or whatever the hell it's called. The aliens are going to land. They're going to sift through our ashes. And they're going to go. They're going to blame everything on the period of time where we were giving Rob Schneider movie roles.
You can do it.
he's okay at that. I'm all right with, in the first 5 or so Adam Sandler movies when he would show up and, yell out, "You can do it." I went, "Hey, look at that. There's Rob Schneider." Just don't give him a bigger role than that.
So he kept his SAG card.
Yeah, really. He kept his SAG card and he stayed on Sandler's, I think, personal, his payroll. Yeah. Terrible movies. But anyways, Judge Dredd. So we went to the that was a tangent, but I know where we were.
We'll get right back around to it.
Legends of Superheroes, A Hero's Legacy. So we went there, picked up a couple more books, and then we went to Newbury Comics, which is down the road in the mall. They had a sale by
the mall.
The malleria.
The mall.
They had a sale, buy 2 variants, get 1 free, and it was all garbage. It was nothing good. It's all the same old variants they've had for the last 2 years. Yeah. So I bought nothing there.
How many of them were bent at the spine?
Oh my God! There's nothing like a. I've gone to Newbury Comics before and found books that I need, and I can't buy them because
they're terribly.
It's not a comic book store, so either they're not bagged and boarded, or if they're not bagged and boarded, usually people in comic book stores have etiquette and will pick something up and be gentle and put it back. And in a store like that, where it's basically a hot topic, people just start ripping through it, and like I said,
everything forward.
I've had a few times where I go, "Oh, I need this issue 5 of something," and they have 3 copies and they're all mutilated horribly. So yeah, I bought nothing there. And then we went to the Eye Opener, which is in Newington, Connecticut, and they had an interesting little thing for Free Comic Book Day.
Is that on Center Court in Newington?
It's on Center Court in Newington. They had an interesting thing where
their prefix is 666. I just want you to know.
Is it 666? I think Newington has a 666 prefix.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the number of the beast. So we ended up going there, and I up until this point had only bought a couple of comics to go along with my free comics. I wasn't really going to buy anything big, and then I saw on they had a sign that said 50% off all trades and graphic novels. And I was going through their trades and graphic novels, and there was nothing really good. And then I found a hardcover which I've never read, and I've always wanted to read, Jodorowsky and Mobius's The Incal hardcover with a ribbon bookmark inside of it, and it's really nice.
From Humanoids.
Humanoids, yeah. So I brought it up to the register, and this thing has no price on it anywhere. The price is not incorporated into the barcode. Oh. There's nothing on the inner. And I just went up and I said to the gentleman, I know 50% off, but what is the base price on this? The guy looked at it and he said, "I would probably say that's $30. Give me $15, and we're good." And I immediately gave him $15. I looked it up. It was closer to like $60.
Yeah.
So, I didn't
is
really
that a complete, or is it volume 1?
I don't know. Pretty thick. It's probably 500 pages.
It might be the complete.
I just was flipping through it, and Mobius's artwork is... I bought it more for Mobius's artwork than...
Jean Giraud.
Yeah. I've never owned anything by him.
Really?
I've always seen stuff. I've always wanted to get into... what's the cowboy one he did? Blueberry. And a lot of that stuff's hard to find.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I immediately picked it up. I'm gonna go start reading it in the next couple of days. But we had a good time there.
Yeah, because I don't know if you're gonna find any of his stuff out there much, except through, I think, maybe Dark Horse at this point. I think it's the only place that's publishing his stuff.
Really?
Yeah, after he passed away, there's the story of who controls his work, which is his widow, and she's very controlling.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I got my copy of the Incal at least, and I had read about it before, about a detective, John DeFool, and something about some artifact called the Incal. But I mean, like I said, when I started going through the pages, his artwork, it jumps out at you. Oh, yeah. It's there's a lot of great artists, and then there's ones that are just definable by seeing them, and he's one that's definable by seeing them. I got at the Eye Opener, which we're going to discuss real quick. They had a rule there where the 2 other places we went to were 2 books, and that's all you got. So I got myself a couple books. I got John a couple books he was looking for. And at the Eye Opener, they had...
Out of the, what, 3 I mentioned?
Yeah, you mentioned 3. I got him the 2. I picked up for myself Rick and Morty. They had a Rick and Morty Free Comic Book Day issue. And then the Marvel one, The Secret Empire, because I'm reading that book, and I figured might as well get the one to go along with it. And then we went to Eye Opener, and he had a thing where you pick 1 book. You get 3 books there. You pick 1 book, and he gives you 2 that he picks. So I guess that's a good way of keeping it, fair, or whatever you want to say.
Whatever.
So I picked a book from him, and he gave me 2 books. And one of the books he coincidentally gave me was the SpongeBob Freestyle Funnies. So I didn't read it because I really...
28 pages of comic stories and fish.
Comic stories and fish.
For 0 cents.
0 cents. This is free. Now, the day after, or the 2 days after Free Comic Book Day, I start seeing articles popping up on Facebook from different comic websites talking about this book. And John, you wanna take over here and kind of read off what they have in here?
Apparently, in the strangely enough, on the very first page of this particular comic is a dig at Diamond Comics, or even in some cases the entire Free Comic Book Day situation as it is. But in general, it's more aimed at Diamond Comics being a monopoly.
Real quick, I don't know if you know this, but Chester A. Arthur started Free Comic Book Day.
Did he?
In 1917. In 1917.
Oh man, that guy was prolific.
He was very prolific.
What a president. I have a book somewhere about his vice president.
Oh Jesus! I think his vice president was Sherwood Schwartz, who created the Brady Bunch. It was a very prolific presidency for entertainment purposes.
Passed away, 2 years ago?
Yes, he did.
Busy guy. So anyway, there was a very good dig at Diamond Comics, who was investigated for a long period of time by the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Was investigating them for being a monopoly. Came to a conclusion that they were not a monopoly, which none of us could figure out as to why, being that they were the only distributor left.
Are they saying that they're not a monopoly because there's nobody else attempting to open a business of that sort?
They can't. When the majority of the publishers, the major publishers, are signed exclusive contracts to the single distributor left.
Yeah.
And they did that beforehand when there were multiple distributors. Who can open up a new one?
Yeah, no, I agree. I just don't know why they would, maybe it was a little back pay, a little cash.
I don't know. It was a long investigation.
Do you think the Department of Justice, the guy who heads up this investigation, is like a comic fan? They're like, we'll get you everything.
I wonder sometimes. And I'm sure a lot of people did question it quite heavily. And
every week a box of comics is going to fall off the truck just for you.
At some point I should go into a heavy investigation into this myself.
There you go.
Because I remember all this stuff, and I was there for a lot of it, and it's a weird situation. And to one, they don't like being mentioned as being a monopoly. Diamond itself.
Well, I mean,
you bring that up in some kind of conversation, and there's always some shutdown. No, we're not a monopoly, and they just move on.
Right.
So to have a character in this comic book actually call them out for being one.
Yeah. Who publishes that book?
This is the United Plankton Studios, which I believe is the company that actually produces SpongeBob itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not Image or IDW.
This is like Bongo. Bongo being the publishing arm of The Simpsons. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the only comic they do, other than I think they might have done one other SpongeBob spin-off at some point. But
you want to read off SpongeBob's little diatribe there?
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
It's quite funny. I'll actually just say the one panel here because it's pretty long and involved. But so he's talking to Squidward, and when Squidward asks him what No Charge Funny Book Day is, a.k.a. Free Comic Book Day, he says, why, it's the day that all graphic literature shops provide gratis samples of the wares in a pathetic effort to bolster an industry which has spent the last 2 decades in a death spiral brought on by a lethal interaction between the lack of variety and a monopolistic distribution system. Who's the writer of this?
Hey, the guy who won't have a job tomorrow?
Story by Jay Lender.
Jay Lender.
Yep. I got to give him credit because
yeah.
That's quite a dig.
You got to give him credit. You got to give the editors credit. You got to give the company credit, and then you got to take all credit away from. I would assume that Diamond, being the distributors,
they're supposed to look at all these things.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
they approve all these things before they go. They'd
have
process,
to. I mean, someone should be reading them. What would be not to say it wouldn't be different, but what if there was a page from a Jugs in there or something? I mean, if you're giving out SpongeBob,
chunky asses.
Yeah, you're giving out SpongeBob, and all of a sudden every kid in America has got I don't know, the copy of Titties. That would. But see, the problem is that would cause a problem.
Yeah, that would cause a problem.
That would be a mainstream problem because the parents and the.
I have a feeling though that there will be fallout and that United Plankton will not be having a comic in next year's comic book day. Yeah, no.
If you I'm keeping this copy. If you enjoyed your Free Comic Book Day SpongeBob issue, don't expect an episode. Yeah. If there's a promise of an issue 2 at the end of this, don't expect it.
Right. I wonder, with all the attention it's getting, it makes me wonder if there is actually anybody reading these things at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I honestly had no plans. I was going to give it to my buddy's kids. I had that and one other one that I was going to give away. And then I read that and I went, I bagged and boarded it and said, this is a keeper.
I'm amused too because I was looking at the cover. It's a pretty well drawn cover.
It's a well drawn cover.
I didn't recognize the artist
for a Free Comic Book Day. It's a pretty thick issue.
28 pages.
Yeah,
which 28 whole pages. But apparently the cover is done in where is this here? after John May's cover for Famous Funnies #1 in 1934.
Nice.
The very first comic book, apparently, which I think people would disagree with, but there's, the historians always argue about what was the first one and what wasn't.
What do you think the first one was?
I don't really care. Honestly, I've never really looked at it like that.
Well, look it up on Wikipedia. I'm sure it's correct.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Or edit it on Wikipedia.
Hang on, I'll do it right now. Yeah.
Chester A. Arthur wrote the first comic book in 1917.
The all Chester A. Arthur episode.
It was an issue of a book that he wrote until issue 1000 called Robot Exterminators from the Planet Jupiter. I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Oh yeah, you can talk about this all by your lonesome.
I can talk about you didn't go see it, and I'm not going to spoil anything.
Good, because people hate you.
No spoiler free. The day after Free Comic Book Day, I took my lovely wife to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Your lovely wife what?
I don't say her name on the show.
No, you don't?
No, it's Lindsay. Of course it's Lindsay.
I didn't know if you said it on this show.
I don't know. I'm married to a woman named Lindsay. So we went to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 we discussed on the summer movie preview episode, and I am not familiar with the characters other than from the movies. I loved the first movie. Going into this one, I was a little nervous because there's always that. Are they gonna do the sequel justice? Is this gonna be a crap fest? And I will come out saying that I don't know if I'm gonna say I liked it better than the first one, but it was quite good. And it was also quite different. They did a really good job of making a successful attempt at doing something different than what they did the first time. You don't have the characters all together throughout the course of this movie. They're broken up for different reasons. So we get Kurt Russell. It's always great to see Kurt Russell. He plays Ego, the character who
Stop telling people stuff.
We know who he plays in the movie. It's Ego. I won't say who Sylvester Stallone plays, even though I don't think it's that much. They made a big deal of the secrecy of his role. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I won't say who he plays. But he is in the movie a little bit. And I think the best part of this movie is that they give a little bit more for Michael Rooker as Yondu to do. And because he was great in the first one.
Hey, boy.
Hey, boy. Hey, Quill.
You ever think he sounds like Foghorn Leghorn?
He kind of is like the human equivalent of Foghorn Leghorn. I wouldn't be surprised if they did like Space Jam, like the live action version. That he would. Hey,
I say, boy.
But they give Michael Rooker a bit to do in this, and he's very good in it. And
he's no Chester A. Arthur.
No Chester A. Arthur. There is a plot point where, much like the original Yondu, he gets a taller mohawk. And you know what? I definitely recommend seeing it. I will say this: everybody who's a Marvel movie watcher knows to stick around through the credits. 5 scenes in the credits of this movie. 5. 3 are played for laughs. And 2 are played for, I guess, continuation plot points of future movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would definitely give it a thumbs up. I'd say go see it. If you get a chance, check it out.
Great.
Now, what are you doing?
I'm trying to find Chester A. Arthur's vice president.
Oh, my God.
But come to find out, because I'd forgotten this, too, in my history.
Yep.
Chester Arthur took over the presidency after James Garfield was assassinated.
Oh, really? So Chester Arthur was just a stopgap president? How many days did he last?
No, he was in there for 4 whole years.
4 whole years?
Yeah.
Really? So he apparently picked up the job and ran with it.
Oh, he had no vice president. He's one of the guys, because he was vice president. He took over and he never put anybody in for vice president.
So he's like a head coach that is also his own offensive coordinator?
Apparently, yeah.
He's like, fuck this, I don't need anybody to do this for me.
Yeah, and then followed up by Grover Cleveland. So
Grover. Yeah. That's an unfortunate name for a man. That's a good name for a Muppet. Super Grover. Like, honestly, like when you're naming it, when a baby comes out and you look at that beautiful little baby, what the first thing you do to it is name it Grover.
All the Grovers in the world are gonna hate you.
But I mean,
all 3 of them.
I think they hate themselves.
Oh God, you're terrible.
I feel like you might as well take your baby and drop kick it instead of naming it Grover. It's a bad name, man. It's a bad name.
Okay, Chet.
Well, Chet, Chet Arthur. Chester A. Arthur.
SpongeBob.
Well, SpongeBob, there's probably at least been one kid named SpongeBob in the last 20 years somewhere. Everybody calls him Bob, and they're like, "So what's your
Rock Bottom Splendor?
What's your full first name, Robert?" And he's like, "No, actually, Bob is short for SpongeBob. My parents are assholes."
It's Shellboy.
All right, so what else do you have?
Richie Fish.
What else do you have for us?
What do I have for you?
Yeah, what have you done? What have you watched? What have you been reading?
What have I been reading?
Yeah.
Quite a bit of things. I mean, trying to get caught up on my list of my great pile of comics, as it were. And the things I've been reading are mostly pretty good.
What's one book right now that you're really, really into?
Here's a book that I liked immediately with the very first issue, which hasn't happened in quite a while. I mean, I give comics in general, ongoing series, I give them 5 issues before I pull the plug on them. And unfortunately, because I do a mail order service, sometimes takes a little longer because you're prepaying for everything.
Right.
You're not seeing this stuff right away. But in the case of this comic, Grass Kings from Boom Studios,
Matt Kindt. Okay,
and I forget the artist's name now, but excellent book.
What's it about?
Tyler Jenkins is the artist. It's about a territory somewhere in the far west of Ohio-ish.
The Vinny West.
The Vinny West, which is held on to privately, apparently, by a group of people that have been there for a long time.
This is set in Western days, or
it's
this
set
is
in the here and now.
Okay, here and now.
But it does go back each issue, and there's only been 2 at this point that I've gotten anyway. It does go back and give you some of the history of the land itself.
Okay.
To show you how it was settled and that sort of thing. And these people are very independent, almost to the point of militarism, and the locals around them don't particularly care for them, and the fact that they are that independent. So it's about their living conditions, I guess.
Interesting.
And there's a little bit more going on, but I get into these books where I hate to call them talking heads, but it's kind of what it is.
Dialogue's good in a book.
Yeah.
Especially when it's well written.
Yeah, and the artistry is beautiful. And
yeah.
It's just like watercolory styled colors and imagery around the pencils, I guess.
I've never, Matt Kindt is one of those writers that he's been pretty popular the last couple of years. He did some stuff for Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I think one of the only things I read by him that I have to catch up on. I only read the first 2 issues. He's doing a book for, I'm probably wrong on this, it might be Dark Horse, called one of 2 things. It's either Department H, DEPT.8 dat, or Depth, because it's about a murder mystery on a underwater station. Like, think The Abyss.
Didn't he do Mind Management too?
He did Mind Management,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
which I've never read.
And that's a Dark Horse book, right?
That's a...
Or was that Image?
Image.
It was
Image, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know he's been bouncing around a little bit. It's a 5-issue book series from Dark Horse called Weird Detective.
I do remember seeing that, but I did not...
Fred Van Lente was the writer.
Fred Van Lente is a pretty good writer.
Yeah.
I've read a few of his things. He did a good run on Conan. He did Conan
Really?
the Avenger. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The way they're doing the Conan books, like right now through Dark Horse, is they'll have one writer do an entire series.
Yep.
So when it came back, Brian Wood did Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah.
and that lasted like 25 issues. Then Fred Van Lente did Conan the Avenger.
And they run about 25
and that was
issues,
about 25 issues. And now Cullen Bunn, who's a pretty good writer, he does a book called Harrow County for Dark Horse. That's pretty good. It's a horror book. He's doing one called Conan the Slayer. So they're all kind of taking these turns, and Fred Van Lente's run was quite good.
Okay. Well, The Weird Detective, very overlooked book. It's now collected, so you can get it in one volume. Very Cthulhu-esque in certain ways.
Okay.
Where an alien presence comes down and takes the place of a corrupt police detective to find out why there are certain things happening in the city which are connected to another alien race that they're supposed to be keeping in check.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird, but it's awesome.
Hence the title, Weird Detective.
It's very weird, and it's really well done, really well written. The art was great, and that's some guy who I've never heard of, Gilles Villanova.
No, not familiar.
Guiu. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, so I'm probably... It's probably Guy.
Yeah, you don't.
For all I know.
Yeah, Guy Villanova. Or just G. We'll just call him G.
G. Sorry, buddy.
That's a dark horse. That's a
You
dark
can
horse
mangle my name next time. I mean.
John Johnson. I just can't do it.
Jon Jonsson.
Yoni Jonsson. So that is a dark horse book. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
It's quite the excellent Dark Horse book. I would suggest it to anybody that likes, weird stuff.
Yeah,
really weird stuff.
Another Dark Horse book that I'm reading right now that I'm really...
The old Dark Horse.
Hey, let's give them a little credit.
Sure.
Mike Richards does a pretty good job over there.
Oh, they do.
And, with all the stuff going on with DC and Marvel, and as we saw today, we'll talk about in a few minutes, Marvel possibly canceling up to 30 titles in the next couple months.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. He's right. The one I am reading, it's not Weird Detective. It's not its own thing technically. It's a licensed book, but again, Brian Wood, who I just mentioned, having done a pretty good Conan series, is currently doing an Aliens book called Aliens Defiance, and it's an original story. I don't know how long it's going to last. They don't do the of 24 anymore. I'm assuming it's finite. It is an Alien series takes place probably a little bit after Alien itself. Ripley's daughter plays a very minor role in it as an adult, so I think it's...
Newt?
No, not Newt. Her actual real daughter.
Oh, the real daughter.
The one that she left behind.
Yeah.
In the cutscenes in Aliens, there's a whole thing where her daughter aged over her. I think it's taking place during the time that Ripley's like floating in space, this series. But it's about a colonial marine female named Hendrix, who on her first ever assignment got tore up and in a battle, not with the aliens, but in a battle, and hurt her back really badly. And they gave her an assignment to go with a squadron of the androids that we see in the Aliens universe all the time. But they're always, the androids in the Aliens universe are always seen as not combat models.
Pansies.
No, not pansies, but they're they're workers more or less, or scientists. She gets put on a ship with a squadron of combat androids to go do, well, what it really turns out to be is it's an alien threat, and the company, Weyland-Yutani, is trying to get them to bring the alien back, which they're always doing. But the main android in charge realizes that this thing's a threat to humanity, and because they always seem to exhibit like human-like qualities, even, what's the word I'm looking for, compassion, he decides he's going to help her. Well, like Bishop, he ends up becoming a good guy in the end.
No, just the fact that let's see, what word am I looking for?
I couldn't think of the word. A conscience. He kind of has a conscience.
Yeah.
And him and her decide that they're going to go and try to destroy as many of these aliens as possible. And it's a good book. I think it's on issue like 12, so I'm assuming it's not much longer. There's an artist on this book that's really good named, he's not on every issue, Tristan Jones. He did a Mad Max series a couple years ago for the Fury Road when that came out. Mm-hmm. They did a 4-issue miniseries that took place before that. He caught my eye with that, and he's on this, and it's fantastic. It's really good. Aliens Defiance.
All right.
And I definitely didn't do it service by describing it the way I did, but it's a really good book.
Well, I have one more.
What do you have?
It's called Die Kitty Die. You laugh.
Really?
Oh, yeah, from Chapter House Comics.
Okay.
A Canadian company. And it's
are they the ones that do Captain Canuck?
Canuck.
Yeah.
Canuck?
What is it? Well, I don't know.
It's the Canucks.
Oh, yeah, the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, there you go. So it's by Dan Parent and Fernando Ruiz.
Dan Parent is the Archie guy?
Did I say Ruiz? Ruiz. Oh, man, I'm mangling people's names today.
Is Dan Parent the Archie guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Former Archie guy.
Oh, he's not there anymore?
I think he's doing stuff there again, like covers and things. But, yeah, for the most part, he doesn't do monthly titles anymore.
Oh, because I met him last year, the year before we went to Boston Comic Con, and he signed my, he did Archie versus Sharknado book.
Yeah. He was doing one of their miniseries, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. But for the most part, his Archie style, his house style, as it were, is pretty much retired at Archie. Although they are coming out with that style again for a series of miniseries, apparently.
What was the name of the artist you said? Ruiz? What was his first name?
Fernando.
Oh, he's an Archie guy, too.
Is he?
He did the art, and he does the house style for Predator vs. Archie.
Yeah, okay. Well, these two guys, they do the book together. They write and draw it together.
Okay.
I think Fernando does most of the writing, but they both draw it, and they swap out, like, there's multiple covers to these damn things, but it's basically I would say, let's call it a Sabrina Teenage Witch parody book, if you want to put it that way. It's the first series was 4 issues. It was an awesome satire of the entire comic book industry. It had me in stitches. It was so funny.
Really?
It's just the fact that people aren't reading this thing that know comics, it destroys me because it's that good.
Die Kitty Die.
Die Kitty Die. And there's a new series coming out called Die Kitty Die Hollywood or Bust. So.
Hollywood or Bust. I'll have to check it out.
Which I hope is just a panning of the Hollywood moneymakers.
It sounds like it possibly could be.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. And it's a great, it's a beautifully drawn book because it's in that crazy old Archie style,
right.
But they really play it up and sex it up too, because that's part of the parody satire of it. That's kind of funny. It can be a little hammy in places, but on the other hand, the really good stuff is in there too. They really hand the comic book industry. It's
I had not heard of this one. I heard of Grass Kings. I had not heard of this one.
Yeah, the first series is over, so the next series is coming.
Die Kitty Die. Get out there and pick it up.
Chapter House Comics. Yep, Chapter House.
All right, I got one more. This is, obviously I'm not going deep cuts like you, but this is one I'm actually enjoying a lot right now, and it is definitely not a deep cut. It's a Star Wars book, It's a Star Wars book based on a character from Force Awakens, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I did like Poe Dameron, and there's currently a Poe Dameron book, probably on issue 15 or so. It takes place before Force Awakens, and the story is General Leia has told Dameron to go out and find. He's looking for the character he finds in the beginning of the movie, Max von Sydow. So it's more than just that. One of the things I like the most about it is the villain. The villain of the book is quite good. The villain is a character named Agent T-Rex. And what he is, and they get into his backstory.
T-Rex?
Yeah, T-E-R-E-X, so T-Rex. He's a member of the First Order, but he hates the First Order. He's an ex-Empire guy.
He's an Imperial?
He's an Imperial in the First Order, who, I think you'd enjoy this book. Phil Noto draws it too, which is just awesome.
Well, that helps.
And Snap Wexley is in the book. So
Snap Wexley.
You know how much we love Snap Wexley here. No, I really enjoy it. Out of all the,
does he grow panel by panel?
No, Snap Wexley is drawn portly, but he's not like expanding over the panels. But no, it's a good book. T-Rex is an Imperial who's in the First Order who basically has no problem telling people that the First Order is a joke, and he has these. Every issue, because he does what he wants to do, and every issue or two, Captain Phasma will pop up on the hologram, and where are you? And what they want to talk to you, and he's like, leave me alone. I'm looking for this Dameron guy.
Favorite.
I'll do it myself. You're useless,
Captain Phasma.
Yeah, Captain Phasma. But no, it's a good series.
So who writes that?
Charles Soule.
Oh, okay.
Charles Soule, who does Daredevil, and he did a really good run on Swamp Thing in the New 52 of DC.
Someone that doesn't like the First Order.
Yeah, he's well. One of the coolest parts of the book is there's an issue that goes back and shows his origins. He was a stormtrooper during the end of the Empire after Return of the Jedi, and the planet on Force Awakens where Jakku, the planet that Rey is from, that they show the Star Destroyer crashed on. That's actually part of his origin. There's this battle, and Star Destroyers are crashing into the dirt, and him and another stormtrooper are standing there, and the other guy's like, "Okay, well, that's it for me." And he takes his gun and he starts taking all of his stuff off, and he's burying it in the sand. And T-Rex is like, "What are you doing? We can't give up." And he's like, "There is no more Empire. Do you hear what's happening right now? Then if they see us in this armor, they're coming for us." So he goes along with the guy, but he never loses his love for the Empire and his hatred for the rebels. And he ends up with the First Order because he sees it as his best chance of.
And Poe Dameron's the other guy.
And Poe Dameron, no, Poe Dameron's not. No, he ends up. Spoiler alert: he ends up killing the other guy because he thinks that he's not hardcore enough to be with him. But no, it's a good book. And again, Phil.
What a shame! It could have turned into like another villain or another hero.
No.
Snap Wexley 2.
No, I'm enjoying it. I think that's a pretty good book. It's no Die Kitty Die.
Not when you're getting into satire, but it's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got?
What else do we have?
We want to talk about a couple other things. We have, by the time this is out, it'll be sooner. June 3rd, Saturday, at the Friendly Neighborhood Tabletop Shop in Newington. What do we have?
We have the Connecticut Festival of Independent Games. Festival of Independent Games.
Run by our friends.
FIG, as we call it.
Run by our friends at the Geek Fever Games. I don't know if you've been keeping up on this. Their Kickstarter for Dead Man's Doubloons, which you and I both at different points had tested out with them, is, I think, 2 days left, and they're blowing it away.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
And that was a fun game, and we're looking forward to that. But, so June 3rd, we'll be there recording. We'll be there interviewing people and talking to people. So if you want to come down.
We will.
We will.
Oh.
You knew this.
I did.
We're technically sponsoring the thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you forget already?
Yeah.
Do you want a beer?
No.
No? I think the Canada Dry Ginger Ale is screwing him up.
It's all the sugar.
It's all the sugar. Yeah, no, we will be there. We'll be recording.
That's right. We will be there.
We will be there.
I remember now.
You remember now?
I remember now.
Thank God. That's June 3rd. That's a Saturday. So if you got the day off, if you don't have the day off, take the day off. Get down there. It's basically a fun day. You get to see tons of new games. This is where we met people like Evan from Origins. Yep. Also, I want to mention, had some good news, that Golden Bell Games, who also ended up partnering up with Justin Purvis from Movie Buff and Frank DiCola from Mr. Game.
Movie Buff,
Mr. Game.
Mr. Game.
And now Origins is under their wing. So this company...
we're getting the trifecta.
We're getting the trifecta. A lot of the guys that we've interviewed, I think we're the key.
Yeah.
We might be the key. It's us. No, the key is these guys have made some pretty good games. Evan from Origins.
Because we haven't met a person from this Golden Bell company. It's time to do that. I think.
We haven't met them. Maybe we'll talk to them.
Start shaking the tree.
Maybe they could start promoting us. Maybe they can, maybe it'll be Golden Bell presents Pino Comics.
Yeah.
We could use some sponsors.
We could.
Yeah.
Sponsorship is available.
So that's June 3rd. June 17th.
There's something else?
That's 2 weeks later. That's not anything we're recording at, though.
You sure?
But this is just something I wanted to mention because I've done the last few. You did one of them with me.
I did.
Connecticut Cult Classics.
Oh, that. Yes.
CT Cult Classics. What they do is this is a group of guys. Larry Dwyer is, I guess you'd say, the CEO, or I don't know if he's the head dude there, but
the head dude.
He's the head dude. He basically gets the Strand Theater in Seymour is a theater that's shut down now, but they open up for special events.
Seymour, Connecticut.
Seymour, Connecticut.
Seymour, Connecticut.
Seymour of Connecticut.
See how that is?
And what the CT Cult Classic guys do is they put together every month or every 2 months a double feature.
To Seymour.
Stop. They put together a double feature of different sci-fi horror movies.
Cult-style
movies, bigger movies. And you know what? People go out and have a good time with these things. I've done 3 so far this year. The first one was totally coincidental. I saw it on Facebook. My buddy Rich is a big Friday the 13th fan, and I saw that they were doing, right after Christmas time, Friday the 13th 2 and 3. Whoa. 3 in 3D.
Whoa.
Yeah. I had a good time because when you go, I will say this about the horror fans. They're into it.
Oh, yeah.
I was standing to take a piss in the bathroom, and there's one bathroom in the place, and the line was pretty long. And as I'm standing in line, the dudes in line are showing off to each other their horror tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
And these are guys like younger than me. One guy, he's got a sleeve, Bela Lugosi as Dracula. Wow. He's got the Gill Man, and this dude's got Jason. And I'm like, wow, this is like a subculture of fandom that I'm not really that.
We should hit the Chiller Theater or Chill Convention, whatever the hell it's
like
called.
The CT Horror Con or something.
No, there's one further out.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we can hit the Connecticut one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you really want to.
I enjoy all the horror stuff, but it's not my comic book to me. But I mean,
you'd be surprised.
These guys are hardcore.
You can see Tom Savini.
Yeah, Tom Savini, the effects guru, Mr. Dick Gun from what was it? Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes, that one.
So anyway, so we that night we did Friday the 13th 1 or 2 and 3 in 3D, and one of the things that was great about the part 3 was they play these off of, I think, like a DVD setup or something. They gave us all the glasses, and as part 3 started, they didn't have the sound correct, and it was playing in Spanish. So the first 15 minutes of the movie is in Spanish, and everybody was having a great time with it because it's the first 15 minutes of the movie. Yeah, is just these two characters. Estoy Jason. No mas good. And everybody is just laughing. Everybody's having a good time. A couple months later, they advertised, right after that one, they did a John Carpenter night that you came with me for. Yes. They did Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing.
The Thing, which I hadn't seen on the big screen, or actually I hadn't seen at all in quite a long time.
Yeah.
So I had never seen it on the big screen, and that was
I hadn't seen either on the big screen. That
that's true, really too. Yeah, I don't think I ever saw Big Trouble in the big screen.
I never saw it on the big screen. Both of those were really good.
But, I know Big Trouble, pretty much back to back.
Big Trouble was great though, because the audience, like I said again, the people that are going to see these this is a dedicated audience. You're not accidentally walking into one of these shows.
They're all laughing at the right.
They're points. Laughing at the right.
They're quiet they're not all talking.
Yeah. The elevator scene at the end of Big Trouble, where they just took the magic potion and they're all just like, I feel pretty damn good. It got the biggest laugh out of the audience. And then after that, I went back. John couldn't make it with me. I went back with my buddy Tony.
That wasn't about couldn't.
You had to work.
Oh, well, okay, maybe then.
Yeah, you were working, so unless you could do two things at once, unless you're...
Well, no, it wasn't really that interesting to me anyway.
Oh. He's not a Predator fan, everybody.
Nah, Predator's fine. It was just not... You paired it up with... You go ahead and tell me about this one. So.
Yeah.
You tell everybody about this one.
Yeah, well, I don't want to... Hey, what I want to tell everybody is these guys do a great job programming.
It was a wonderful time.
They do a great job programming. I know what they're going for with it.
Yeah.
To me, it was not... It was not a super pleasurable experience, except for the Predator part. So these other ones, Friday the 13th, 2 and 3, whatever you think of them. Big Trouble and The Thing, okay,
Awesome pairing.
Awesome pairing. Yeah. So they said their next one's going to be a big science fiction movie with a cult movie, and what it was Predator. I'm a huge Predator fan, and I never saw it on the big screen, so seeing it on the big screen was awesome. But they started the night off with
sexual Tyrannosaurus.
Quick now, go get to the chopper. You could feel let me tell you. Let me tell you this real quick about Predator. The scene that got people were like whooping and cheering, and it was in the beginning of the movie. Was the scene when the Schwarzenegger's team lands and they're dun 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 dun, the music, and they walk into the military base, and then there's the scene where Schwarzenegger walks in and there's Carl Weathers, the handshake.
Oh God, no!
The theater went nuts. The people in the theater.
The 5-second delay.
The 5 second arm wrestling match and the flex and the sweat and the muscles. That scene got the biggest reaction of the whole movie. Get to the chopper didn't get that much of a reaction.
Really?
And that's probably the most quotable thing.
Yeah.
When Dylan, you son of a bitch, and they do the handshake, everybody in the theater is going, ow! Everybody got into it, and then they're standing there like, they got you pushing too many pencils, Dylan. So Predator was just fantastic. But Larry had mentioned that what he was going to program that with was a Indonesian B movie. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's be nice to the B movie.
Called Lady Terminator. This was the worst thing I've ever watched on purpose without a Mystery Science Theater or riff tracks, laugh track to go along with it. This was so bad. There were a couple scenes in it where they actually do lift from Terminator. Yeah. A character at one point says, "Come with me if you want to live."
Oh God!
And that got people in the audience first. But in all reality, I do see what he said. It was so bad it was funny, but it was hard sitting in those seats for an hour. It was an hour and a half. It was like, I was just like, oh God, Predator, please come save me from Lady Terminator.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Dylan, you son of a bitch. But the night was a lot of fun. Even Tony, my very quiet cohort, I looked over him and like, so how'd you feel about Lady Terminator? He was like, no. But in the end, though, these guys do some great stuff. So June 17th, which is next month, they're doing another kind of big B movie pairing. They're doing as the marquee movie, American Werewolf in London,
which is a great movie.
Great movie. Great John Landis and David Naughton and Griffin Dunn, and that is just a great movie if you've never seen it. Jenny Agutter. And then to open it up, they're doing the mid '80s Stephen King Cycle of the Werewolf, which was a movie starring Corey Haim called Silver Bullet. I will say this though, I've seen Silver Bullet. This is nowhere near as bad as Lady Terminator. You will probably be able to enjoy it, and you know what? It's a fun night. It's a werewolf night out in the theater. So
isn't it Corey Haim in a superpower wheelchair?
He's in a turbo wheelchair. Yeah, and Gary Busey is like his uncle.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do now, Corey Haim? What's the matter, Corey Haim? You paralyzed, Corey Haim? Well, how come you ended up in that wheelchair there, Corey Haim?
But we need cocaine and we need silver bullets.
Silver bullets, cocaine, and Corey Feldman.
Jeez, I think we just put something together here.
What?
Gary Busey. Corey Haim. Where do you think the problem started?
Yeah. You think it might have been that movie?
No.
You think Corey Haim
might
have...
I'm going to say no right now. Cause,
what's the matter, Corey Haim? You got a little bit of a sinus headache? Uncle Gary can help you with that. Here, take this white powder and this straw.
We're so terrible.
This will clear you right out. You'll be dead by 42. I was wrong.
Slander.
I'm sorry, Corey Haim. I'm sorry, Gary Busey.
I think he's dead, isn't he?
Corey Haim's long dead.
Yeah. Okay then. So,
I'm
sorry, Bobby Heenan.
Look, didn't you hear what I said? I said if you take this, you'll be dead by the time you're 42. Sorry, Corey Haim.
Sorry, Bobby Heenan.
John said some mean things about Bobby Heenan a couple years ago.
I'm still apologizing.
He's still apologizing.
Oh, God.
So,
Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
But, no, I'd go see a couple of werewolf movies.
Yeah, I'm going to get tickets to that one.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
I know they're working on some more stuff, so.
Yeah. No, it's a good experience. The Strand Theater's a nice old school theater.
Yeah.
It's not very big, so get comfortable with the person next to you.
Yeah. I have lucked out every time we've gone because I'm a plus size gentleman. I've lucked out every time we've gone that we meet up with a friend of the show, Brian Whaley down there, who lives down there, and Brian always buys like extra tickets and always has friends that like cancel out on him at the last minute. So the last few times we've gone, we've ended up with like the buffer zone,
Yeah.
where there's a couple extra seats around us. And I will say this, and I don't know if it was Lady Terminator or not, but Friday the 13th, the house was packed.
Yeah.
The Thing, the house was packed.
Yeah.
Predator, the house was not packed.
Yeah.
Predator was definitely a lot smaller. And one thing I want to mention that I didn't even mention that is huge credit to these guys is not only do they put the show on and everything, they give you these little care packages.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun.
It's an eventful night.
It is. It's something that you don't see a lot of anymore. It's nice to get that.
They put together a ton of raffle prizes,
Yeah.
which is great on its own. So
Yep.
you get your ticket, they call out your ticket, and you can get Blu-ray copy of the movie along with a signed print of some sort. They have different things. They have glasses and all related to the movies. And then at every one of these, they have a little care package that they give you. The Big Trouble in Little China thing one was a Chinese takeout box that came with like a little Pork Chop Express key ring. A few other things in there. The Predator one, they had a little beer cozy with the Predator's face on it, and it says "You're one ugly motherfucker" on it. And then they had a package of camouflage Band-Aids that say "I ain't got time to bleed Band-Aids."
Oh God.
And even at
I ain't got time to bleed.
And even at the Friday the 13th one, they let you keep not let you keep, but it was old school 3D blue and red glasses, and they made the glasses look like Jason's mask. Has a little triangle on it, and they kind of has like a. They really put a lot of effort into it. So
They do.
I want to give them a shout out, and I want people to go check them out on Facebook. It's they have their own site, Connecticut Cult Classics, and buy tickets to these things. Go there. You'll have such a fun time if you're a fan of these movies.
It's fun. I will say it's fun. Also, just because I have to throw this in there, for the time that I went with you and the others, we discovered a nice little out of the way location right down the road from from the Strand,
Main Street.
Which is like a throwback in time.
Oh, yeah.
Bar or pub. Actually, I wouldn't even call it a pub. It's a bar.
Yeah.
And it is a 70s, late 60s, early 70s style bar.
It looked like the Regal Beagle from Three's Company.
I mean, it had
everything's brown.
Everything's brown, and it had the weird little bench set up, and you had the newel posts everywhere, and the wood paneling. It's a place called Jimmy's.
Jimmy's. Yeah.
And we walk in there, and they were all, the few people that were in there were like, "Hey, how you doing?" Real friendly. The bartender was real nice, and attentive, and the beers were dirt cheap. So.
The beers. So there was four of us when we walked in. It was me and John and our friend Brian and our friend Tony. So we walk in, and the guy comes over and so what would you guys like? And he says, we'll all do the whatever it was. I don't remember.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Because it wasn't much of a selection.
Yeah,
and we're like,
no, this is refreshing too because it's a bar where there's only like 3 beers on tap. So so we all we got 4 Pabst Blue Ribbons, and I said I'll get this round. Go get the round. And he says, "Okay, those are $8." And I'm like, "Oh shit, shit! I didn't bring that much money. I mean, I have money with me, but
we're all like, what did you say? $8?
$8." And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get $24 out of my pocket,
and the rest of us were like fishing money out, and
trying to find money. And he's like, no, $8 for all 4 beers. He's like, this is super cheap here. $32, by the way. I did my math wrong,
right?
But in any case, So he's like, no, it's $2 a beer.
Yeah.
We only stayed for one, but that was extremely affordable.
It was kind of amusing because we're all like, wait, $8 for all 4 of us?
Yeah.
All right, then.
Yeah, because when he said that, I looked at Brian. I'm like, shit, did we just get $8 beers at this place? I mean, $8 beers.
Pabst.
Yeah, $8 Pabst Blue Ribbons.
Oh.
Well, what's next? Someone to kick me in the stomach and charge me $3?
And then they came over later with little pretzel snacks. So,
little snacks, and they actually they were asking us, "What are you guys doing? You going to they know about it? They were going out to the movie tonight."
And there were a few other people in there that were going to see the movie too. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
it was just like
that was a great time.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
Jimmy's,
yeah. We didn't go this. It was just
like
me and Tony.
Stepping through time.
Oh yeah. I've mentioned it before. There's a bar like that in Wallingford where I live, and it's a doorway in between 2 other businesses, and it's this little. It's like goddamn, like you could go to Narnia through it possibly, but instead when you open it, it's this place called Lenny's, and Lenny's stopped in 1972. It just stopped.
Lenny's.
It's still there. It just stopped. The time stopped. Everything froze around it.
Still sell Blatz.
It is a little old school bar in the middle of town, and
Knickerbocker.
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
Chester A. Arthur beer.
Chester, get me a CAA and get it for me fast. I had a long day. 1 CAA coming right up, sir.
CAA lager.
CAA lager. This beer will be lasting your gut 4 years, just like Chester A. Arthur. Chester A. Arthur, who needs a vice president, pussies? Can you imagine that when he got the job and they said to him, okay, so who are you going to choose? You know, you were the vice president. Who are you going to bring along? He's like, who do I need? I need me.
That's it.
That's
I don't
it.
need any of you people.
You know who's going to be my vice president? Me. So me and me can never travel together.
Different times.
Different times.
Good times.
All right, so we're at about the 1 hour 15 minute mark here.
Are we?
Yeah, we're going to do a little editing because there was a few farts here and there. We had a few moments, a few farts.
Just a few.
Just
Cautions.
What was that word you just said?
Caution.
So that was another episode.
Yes, it was.
Of the Wonderful Pint of Comics.
That's that episode
4. Yeah.
We're on the 4th.
42 more until we talk about you, the entire show.
Oh, God. Are we on that countdown still?
It's happening. It's absolutely happening.
God. All right.
What do we say at the end of the show, John?
See ya.
See ya.